Hi, Don Eden here with you for Videowave, and I'm backstage at Roseland with Toni, Halliday, and Dean Garcia of Curve, whose album Doppelganger, their first album, has been doing really well out here. Right now they're here on the roller coaster tour. I understand you've been out here this time a couple of weeks?
We've been out here for 2 weeks so far, and we've got another 3 weeks to go, so we're not even halfway through it yet.
Yeah, another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
This is a kind of unusual tour in that you're playing with other groups that don't usually get on package tour bills. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not exactly like a Lollapalooza thing. It's like a bill with Jesus and Mary Chain and Spiritualized, and it's sort of what you would call the, I hate to say new wave, a new wave of British alternative rock. I mean, how's the response been in general in America to that kind of music on the tour?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is I completely disagree, because the Mary Chain set up Roller Coaster in England, which was with Dinosaur Jr. and My Bloody Valentine and Blur, and they set up exactly the same packages, just called Roller Coaster UK or something, and this is Roller Coaster USA, and it's like their kind of like brainchild. And also, you know, the Mary Chain did Lollapalooza as well. And you know, I think when they did it this time, because they made quite a few kind of like mistakes on the English roller coaster, and I think this time they wanted to get it really right, and how they did it was by going on their instincts about what they think about music. And one of their favourite bands is Spiritualized, and it's one of our favourite bands as well. And, it's just a totally brilliant thing to happen, really. And it starts, it has a very definite start and a very definite end, and the Mary Chain is an epitome of, completely uncliched rock and roll, and it is without the bollocks, without the cliches, and Spiritualized kind of like set you into it and like bring you into this kind of like playground, and I think it's very, important too. We're enjoying ourselves extremely well.
It's a brilliant bill, you have to watch it, really.
And all the bands get on really well, and we all in everyone's dressing room, and it all like mingles.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, and you can vouch for that. You've seen it. You just have to get them out here to do this. But
Right.
Everyone gets on really well, and I think everyone kind of appreciates one another without it being stupid, kind of like sycophantic situation where you're just gagging over each other. It's more,
more natural.
Yeah, it's more natural and important, really.
Dean, I read in one of those articles about how the two of you write together, a sort of spontaneous stream of consciousness type thing. But what I haven't been able to discover is whether you on the recordings play all the instruments and come up with all the melodies, or whether you, Toni, come up with some of the melodies and instrumentation as well.
It's a very split thing.
It blurs at the edges.
It does, yeah, and there's no restriction on who does what, really. It's what happens to be there and how I happen to feel at the time.
Do you play some of the instruments on the recordings?
Sometimes
I play some guitar, yeah.
I play guitar, or he'll get me to put like if he does a run of cymbals or something like that, quite often he'll get me to do it because I'll put it on the 3.
Or we could get some very obscure sounds on the keyboard, rather than me place them out, because I tend to place them out in kind of logical order. Toni will place them out much more random.
Here's a question I have for you, now that you mentioned keyboard. I've read that your drum sounds on record are sampled from such places as Public Enemy, Led Zeppelin, the Green Card soundtrack. I really liked that, because that's one that threw me for a loop. No pun intended. And my question is, as far as the keyboard, did you sample any interesting organ sounds?
We hate the organ.
Really?
Yeah, we don't like the organ.
We never use organs ever. We'll leave that to the charlatans. We do. And Spiritualized, you see. I'm not talking in like I'm not trying to be horrible about it, because Spiritualized one of our favourite bands, right? And they just use these Bontempi kind of organs.
Yeah, they use it in a very different way, and it's very cheap kind of way. You know what I mean?
Cheesy.
Very, yeah, and it really works.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really fit in with what we do.
Yeah.
Tell me about this video that we're about to see, Fait Accompli.
Well, it was shot by Sophie Miller, who was the #1 director in England, and she also did Shakespeare's Sister as well, and also a lot of Eurythmics stuff. You know, I Need a Man. She just won MTV award for Best Director for Annie Lennox as well. So she's just a wonderful human being, and she decided she was going to make this video. She'd had a vision in her sleep, and she said we have to use it because she never has any visions ever.
That's great.
And she said, I have this vision about sheep and Spanish dancers, and I didn't want to question where this had come from, but she did. She had this vision, so
so we got a show sheep in.
Yeah, we got a show sheep in a stage sheep, right?
Oh,
And she decided to manipulate, and but the main thing about it was that we used her because we can talk to her and not really have to really say very much because she's just so right. I can't explain as a person, she's just so right. And she always has a vision, and it always comes down to one thing. And I've learnt so much from her, and so has Dean about video, because we're both very, very interested in it. And she always has a lighting thing. And it always comes down to lights, right? And how that is going to affect. Well, sometimes she has a film theme or something where, on Shakespeare's Sister, Goodbye Cruel World, she's experimented with this certain type of film to get the thing that she saw in her mind. So, and that took 6 months of research to kind of get that together and test shots.
When she works with us, we talk to her for 15 or 20 minutes, and that's it.
Wow.
We go and shoot it the next day.
She just goes, go and perform,
great.
darling.
Well, let's take a look now. This is Fait Accompli by Curve. Hi, Dawn Eden back with you for Videowave. You just saw Fait Accompli by Curve, and that's from their album Doppelganger, and I'm here interviewing them right now backstage at Roseland. I know that you're I don't know if you call yourself a fan, but I know that you admire Nico's music. Dean, I haven't read much about your own influences. Tell me, what was the first album that you ever bought with your own money?
Abbey Road, I think.
Really? Wow.
Abbey Road by the Beatles, yeah.
That's interesting because that's the Beatles album that I find has influenced the most of today's newer bands. It's so much different from their earlier stuff and even from Revolver.
The Beatles are just brilliant. I'm obsessed by the Beatles. They gave everybody their life. That's it. And the music and everything.
Yeah, so it's funny because we had this conversation a few months ago, and Dean was saying, what is it? How does it come out of people? Why do they make music? Why does this happen? And then you start talking about the Beatles, and when they start to get really interesting is when they started to, veer off into
Experiment.
Like Strawberry Fields Forever.
Yeah, and because before that we listened to their first few albums, and they were releasing 2 albums a year, one every 6 months, and they were jingly, She Loves You, the jingly little pop songs, jangly things, and then they started to develop as people, right? And suddenly you got this thing coming out because they were living it. They were living it, and then they were giving it, right? And you can't do it any other way. You just can't do it any other way. So that's why we're on this tour, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't have expected you to be such a Beatles fan because, Dean, the vocals are so far back on your records, whereas they're so up front on Beatles records. Why is that?
Well, no, the Beatles obviously had a different philosophy at the time. And we were just saying, we listened to the Beatles the other day, we were saying, God, it'd be brilliant to get like Svengali, like, George Martin in, who just developed this thing around you. You had the idea and then they just took it into this, realm. But it very rarely happens now in production anyway. But
we wanted it to kind of be more mixed in, more meshed in.
The Beatles did their thing and we did our thing. Even though you can appreciate what they do and love what they do, it is different for every band.
Have you ever thought of using any of those original electronic instruments from the 60s, like the Leslie speaker or the Moog that have more like
We
organic?
use Moogs.
Yeah, we use them.
And we've just got an Art Odyssey, and we use loads and loads of analog synthesizers.
Oh, that's
We're really
fantastic.
into, oscillators and creating your own sound.
Great.
And we use we've got.
Flood is just totally brilliant. He's a genius with them. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and he's got these old moves and that size of wardrobes.
Yeah, he's got those
Really
patch
big
ones, like Craftwork used to use and stuff.
And Sparks used to see, and what was that, 10cc?
Oh,
You
yes,
could see them on top of the pops, and they had that enormous thing, and the gun just going up. Well, Flood's got all that, and that's what we use all the time. We use stuff like that. We're quite into analog things. We don't really like digital, that's why we record how we record on 16 track. We're not really interested in perfection, really. We're just interested in the spirit.
Are you interested at all in the recordings that Brian Wilson made with the Beach Boys, the Smile stuff?
Well, one of my favourite albums of all time is Pet Cemetery.
Oh, yes.
By Beach Boys. Because it's mono. It's in mono, and it's one of the best productions, the best arrangement, the best songs, the best absolutely everything.
You went mad after you made that, right?
Yeah, it sent him mad.
Do you find
He started sniffing that UHT cream.
UHT cream?
You know the cans, the cream you get in
Oh,
the cans.
the glue you mean, or?
No, the cream, fresh cream in a can.
Oh, yeah.
And when you release the thing, you get
nitrous oxide?
Yeah, you get nitrous oxide out of the top of it. And he just lived in a house full.
All
And
these
you know
cans
heroes
littered.
and villains?
Yeah.
Oh God, it's hilarious.
It's just littered with these funny cans everywhere. Cat litter tray,
Do you think, that's an interesting point that you just made, Tony, about Pet Sounds being in mono. Do you think that today most albums are in pretty much mono, in the sense that it's not really stereo to the point where you really get a spacious sound?
Like Jimi Hendrix.
No, but we like stereo though as well. We're always interested in stereo, actually.
We do mix
stereo.
quite wide.
We do, and Alan mixes. He likes stereo things,
And because Alan's quite influenced by, Jimi Hendrix records. I mean, it's funny because we were making up the compilation tape before we went on, to play before we actually played the gig. And the first one was Wouldn't It Be Nice?
Oh, that's great.
And then the next one is like Hey Joe or something by Hendrix. And you're listening to it and it suddenly just goes like this, because Hendrix was so stereo. It was untrue.
Binaural stereo.
No, not those things that spin round on your head, if you wear headphones and stuff like that. We've just been experimenting with a new track at home, actually, that's going to do that sort of thing.
The Breathy one.
Oh, that's really cool.
track.
As we're running out of time, I'd like to ask you what Americans can look for Curve in terms of recordings and tours in the future.
I think that the only thing you should look for in Curve is heaven. I'm not going to get into specifics because the thing about it is we never know. We don't plan ahead like that. We never know.
Generally, if we do, it goes funny.
Yeah. I don't want to live to a schedule or anything. I don't think Dean does. That's why the whole reason why we're in the music industry is because we don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, it can fluctuate.
That's great.
Well, I've been talking with Toni, Halliday, and Dean Garcia of Curve. I'd like to thank you both very much for taking the time.
I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. This is Dawn Eden for Videowave.